Welcome to How to Train Your Deal Points with Dragon. Before we get started, I just want to note that the information discussed in this webinar is confidential. If you see something you like, you can share it with your team, but please do not share it outside of your organization. Another housekeeping item, in the interest of time, we won't be having a live Q&A today, but please do not hesitate to put your questions in the chat. We will absolutely be following up with you, so don't be shy. Okay, let's start off with introductions. My name is Ashley Gibbs. I'm the Director of Product Value Engineers at Latera. My role at the company is to ultimately act as the subject matter expert around the various products that fall under Latera's firm performance umbrella. So I have a really great history with Foundation, and today I'm excited to also be talking to you about Foundation Dragon. I'll pass it over to Haley.
Hi, I'm Haley Altman. I'm currently a strategic advisor at Latera. So my background, I was a practicing attorney for over 10 years, partner, M&A, venture capital. I left practice in 2016 to start a technology company, Doxley, that was acquired by Latera. Since 2019, I've been in Latera helping them think through their strategy of products, how they're going to expand the business. And as a strategic advisor, I've been working to think through what are ways that, especially with Gen AI, that we can advance and solve important problems for firms with the technology and bringing it together with the technology that we have. So Dragon has been kind of a passion project for me as an attorney that's built deal databases, which we'll get into more. And so I'm excited to partner with the power of Foundation to bring this product to market. So we'll get right into it. So what are we trying to do? So Deal Points 101. At the end of the day, what is the value of having a deal database? As a practicing attorney, I helped our firm build out the database in our firm. These are the collection of deal points for the different transaction types. These are the key critical items that underlie what a matter really is made up of. We use this information in all of these different ways. It can help us win work. It can help us do work. And when you actually can collect this information, you get a real understanding of what you've done. When you can take that information that you can get at a granular deal level and aggregate it across all the deals you have, you can start to get real interesting market insights. But the insights can actually be segmented by industry or what's relevant to your client for that situation. And those different ways to slice and dice information can help you really advance the client's interest throughout the negotiation process. This information also helps you when you're negotiating. How have opposing parties or opposing firms handled these different data points as we've gone through a matter? So if I know that the lender has never given on a specific provision in the past 50 interactions we've had with them, I can help our client utilize their negotiation capital in a better way. You can also leverage these data points to find higher quality precedent. If I have a term sheet that has 10 critical items in it, can we find precedent in our system that's industry specific, where we're also buy side, that has these key important components to that? So it gives us ability to start from a better draft that brings more efficiency in a very, kind of fast-paced market. And we can leverage these insights if you're able to collect them throughout the negotiation process. So it allows us to bring information to the forefront of all of the different things that we're doing in the process. So it brings better client engagement from winning the work all the way through matter completion. Next slide. So if this information is so valuable and it can be leveraged in so many important ways to drive client value, why doesn't every firm have their own? And I think the hard part about it is it's really difficult to maintain. When I was practicing, we actually kept all of the information in an Excel spreadsheet, which meant we ended up having a couple different points of issue. We had data consistency issues. I'd call it a stock deal. Someone else would call it a share deal. But when we needed an RFP with the total equity deals, we had to sift through what nomenclature people use to understand the information. It's also a really manual task, and it's done usually after a deal's done. And we've got to complete the closing book, and after that, you fill out this survey. So people are doing it quickly. They're busy. They've already moved on to a new matter. And so there's a lot of accuracy issues that come into filling in the information. And then with the busyness level that attorneys have as they move from matter to matter, it's difficult to get people to carve out time in order to complete it. So it becomes a real challenge to actually get this information because it is such a manual process. So firms have looked into different ways of doing this. Can they create homegrown systems to support the information? Can they provide incentives or billable hour credits to their attorneys to get them to complete the information? Can they leverage two-tier systems where the associate does the first round of review and the partner double checks it so that they can preserve accuracy? All of these things lead to a lot of time going into creating a valuable resource. We've now seen one of the ways that we could actually, kind of reduce the barriers and pain to creating these deal databases in Foundation. It's one of the exciting things that I've gotten to see in working with the Foundation team since they've come on board is Foundation actually solves your data consistency issues. It gives firms a way to agree on what information is important that we want to track and highlight in a matter. And it gives a structure to the information so that attorneys can go in and enter the information at the end of the deal and capture that critical information. So it's provided us the first step in that process of really making this information available to our teams for use. So I'll hand it back over to Ashley to talk a bit more about Foundation.
Yeah, thanks so much, Haley. So let's take a step back and talk a bit about what Foundation is and how it came to be. It started with the need that we see here on this slide. This is a very accurate picture of a law firm's data structure. Ultimately, what we see here is a bunch of powerful data sources that exist at a firm already, but are typically siloed off and managed by different firm functions. So teams like knowledge management, innovation, business development, pricing, they need access to this data because they're trying to get lawyers information that they asked for, or identify the right set of matters and people to be included in a pitch, or understand historic financial information around certain types of matters so that a predictable fee quote can be created, just as examples. So when information is needed, one must shoot off a bunch of emails to different teams and wait. When they get the response, they now need to stitch together all the information provided to hopefully be able to answer a question like the one we see here on the screen. And by the time they get what they need, 10 other demands have popped up and the cycle starts all over again. So Foundation was created so firms have a platform to integrate all of these data sources together into a single source. So in the back end, integrations like the firm's time and billing system, new matter intake, website, data warehouses, data lakes, and other ad hoc repositories bring the data into Foundation. And then we've added a very intuitive interface where anyone at the firm can consume this information easily and take a next action. The goal is to identify all that free data that exists today at your firm and bring it in so you can have transparency into the baseline information that makes up your clients and your matters and your people. Then the second piece of Foundation's power is the ability to configure data fields that aren't going to be integrated from a firm data source. This data can be the most crucial bit of a firm's story that really tends to only live in the lawyer's head who have done the work. Perfect example of this type of information, deal points. You can configure the profile of a matter to house all of the rich matter lifecycle information that makes up your private M&A matters, your capital markets matters, your real estate matters, etc. And then we give you tools within the platform itself for you to engage the right lawyers at the right time, and you only need to ask them the most relevant questions. And this is why firms adopt Foundation, to benefit from integrated data, to provide baseline context of the work and then take advantage of the on-demand configuration to continue the story of that work. Really, as Haley said, firms have molded Foundation into a super powerful deal database. This approach, though, relies on lawyers having the time to pause their days and provide the necessary information. So this can lead to an incomplete data story, which is a perfect segue for Haley to tell us a little bit more about Dragon.
Awesome. Thank you, Ashley. So what is Dragon? Dragon is, it's giving you your competitive edge. We want to give you the ability to unlock the data that lives inside your attorney's heads and your documents in your document management system. Next slide. So what does Dragon do? So we connect with the law firm's document management system to enable you to move closing documents into Dragon to run a complicated extraction on the document. We pull out deal points that are relevant to the transaction type that we are running the extraction, and we use that information to create this aggregate deal database. We are able to pull this information out, give people a way to verify the information, and then we can actually save that information back to the Foundation Matter profile so you compare it with the experience data that you're already collecting. We then take the insights that we have from each of these extracted deals and we bring it together to create an aggregate view. And we enable deal teams and law firms teams to slice and dice that information to gain important insights throughout the process. So we're really looking to give you the ability to take those data accuracy and data completion efforts to a new level. We're giving you accurate information that people can confirm and leverage at this top level. Next slide. So how did we train our Dragon? When you're wanting to get these different deal points, we wanted to make sure that we are collecting deal points that would be important and relevant to the law firms. So for each transaction type that we're building in Dragon, we started with private M&A, we'll expand to public M&A. We also have done real estate, and we will continue that journey with finance documents, fund formation, venture capital, capital markets, and other different transaction types. So this will continue to be an iterative process to expand the reach that Dragon has. But with each of these different templates, we are working with law firms specializing in the space to understand the deal points that are important. We also look to market studies as well to understand what is important to be tracked that clients will want to know and that firms will want to understand about their deals. We then build out a profile template for that transaction type. We take each field on an individual basis and run it through an entire process to understand what is the type of information we're collecting. Is it a date? Is it a location? Is it a term? What is the information that we're looking to collect, and how are we going to run through the process? We validate each field on an individual basis, understanding its concept, how it is contextually relevant to the document as a whole. And we look to be able to find it. We also look at different documents from law firms to start to validate the accuracy of our system. We don't want to get into a situation where we have any sort of single source bias in the system. So we will look to publicly available documents, and we will look to pilot firms to bring in important information to validate the accuracy of the system and continue to iterate the process. Now, one of the things I think that's important to understand is that when we built Dragon, we wanted to make sure that we could do it in the most accurate way possible. We found that grabbing different pieces of information involved using different techniques, some Gen AI, some natural language processing, some our own algorithms. We wanted to make sure that we understood the data, how the context of the document is written, how the information can be found, because when you're thinking about these deal points, some of the information that you need to pull together to get the right answer is in different sections of the document. And when Gen AI reads from top to bottom, we need to be able to read top to bottom, left to right, every direction that you might need to pull the information together. I think one of the ones that I've in doing all the different research, we have purchase prices that can be cash purchase, stock purchase, and you need to pull from multiple different areas to understand what makes up the components of purchase price and aggregate that data to come up with the top level position. So we're looking at this from a really detailed perspective to get the information to your teams. We consistently work on providing a summary of what we're looking for each of the fields so that you have an understanding of what Dragon is interpreting this different concept to be. We also build in a verification process. As attorneys ourselves, we believe in trust but verify. So we want to give you highly accurate fields, but also an ability to tie back to the source material. So when Dragon extracts a data point, it is showing you every single place that it looked for that information. We do a similar thing if a concept isn't even present in the document. We're really thinking through how do we give your attorneys and teams confidence that the information is accurate, that it can be updated if needed, and it is important to know that we do not train LLMs with your data. Your customer data, your client information is never being used to train any model. We are training our own system in terms of how to look for and find and identify the information accurately, but we do not train any models with client data. So we are really focused on understanding the important data points that are in your document set and making sure that we can find it in an accurate way that provides the greatest level of security to your most important information. So that's how we come up with build these deal points out and give you the means to understand and verify the information that we've brought to the forefront. So then how do we take it to the next level? So now that we have all of this great information that we've gathered to you for your firm's data, now we enable you to use it. We want to bring it to that surface level so you can answer important questions. We've all, as you know, for our legal teams and attorneys, when I practice, I would get the call from a client of what's market for a certain provision. Like maybe a client calls and they're selling their business and they want to know, should they get rep and warranty insurance? Well, that's really dependent on a number of factors. You know, what's the size of the deal? What market are you in? Who's the buyer? All of those different things can have an impact on whether that provision is present. With Dragon, you can actually provide those relevancy filters to a deal to understand, well, what is market? If my deal's on the smaller side, it's a $50 million deal, how common is it to have rep and warranty insurance? According to market data, looking at the 2023 documents all posted in NAG, they're not very common because it's really expensive and that deal size is not going to work. So we give you the ability to not only see like what's market for your client and their industry, but what's market for the industry as a whole, for this deal term as a whole. And you can turn that experience that you have into value when you're having those conversations. You also have the ability to give those answers to your attorneys when they're drafting their documents. How are they, you know, what precedent should I start with? So I have a term sheet with 10 key important terms. I want to find precedent that is the closest to the deal that I'm drafting so that I can be efficient in my process while everything is fast moving throughout the deal. So this gives the ability to get to drill in on deal points to not only understand, you know, what's market, but what leads to good precedent. And I can even pair this with opposing counsel data or opposing party data to understand whether or not how things have been negotiated in the past. So if a lender has never given on governing law in the last 50 deals that we've done, our negotiation capital can be better spent in other areas. So we can advise the client from a position of saying, hey, we understand our data and we know that these are the points that the opposing party has been amenable to negotiating. We can also look at how opposing counsel has negotiated specific provisions in the past. So if they've said they've never given a knowledge qualifier on this rep, you can use the information to see which deals have they given a knowledge qualifier and which context does that seem relevant. So this information, these insights, as you slice and dice them, can give you impact throughout the drafting and negotiation process of your deal, helping you drive ROI into that client experience. And so you get all this information and then you can take it to the next level when you take the granular deal data information and you pair it with the experience information that you have in Foundation. That's where we think this is going to start to be really powerful for firms wanting to harness and leverage this important data.
Thanks, Haley. That teased me up very nicely. I appreciate it. Okay, so back to this picture. But now we have a new source of that free data, and that is the deal points that Dragon can extract, verify, save a copy of, but then push into Foundation, automatically profiling your matters with the information that you've been asking lawyers for years. This, in my opinion, completely changes the game. Just to pause here, maybe as many of you know from working with me in the past, or could just probably tell from today's webinar, I'm a huge Foundation believer. Foundation has helped many firms for years with that crucial transparency into your matters, your clients, and your people data. When I learned what Foundation Dragon was bringing to our customers, I genuinely almost cried, and I'm not joking. Now, you can count on deal information being one of those free data sources of data that could just get synced and populated instead of that being the data that you must go out and hunt and gather for. For those of you on the call that have been working with lawyer engagement and adoption for years and have configured your surveys and your triggers and all of your processes so your lawyers can hopefully make time to answer a few questions, you know how hard that can be. So now you can flip your current process on its head, provide the lawyer filled out data to confirm, and then simply push whatever top level data you need for your day-to-day over to Foundation and keep a whole sea of granular data points in Foundation Dragon, allowing the lawyer to self-service what they need when they need it. For folks on the call that haven't gone down this road yet, this is going to supercharge your experience collection and get you much faster to your goal of having this information at your fingertips. So I do want to quickly touch on who can benefit from Foundation Dragon. My short answer to this is everyone, and I genuinely believe that. Having information about your firm's matters is hugely important to a lot of the functions at a firm. Being able to understand where you've been helps drive where you can go. And this data can be leveraged by many different teams. So in my experience working closely with firms through Foundation implementations, I'd say equal need is shared between business development and or knowledge management. And I would give pricing teams a close second. All three of these functions are pressed to understand a firm's collective experience for their respective day-to-days. If you're out in the US audience and you're in business development and this doesn't resonate with you, I want to stress that you don't have to port over every single data point that makes up a matter. You can just bring over those top level attributes that you can use for league tables or chamber submissions. There is going to be that sweet spot of data points that can help you identify the right set of matters for a pitch. And having more of this data, auto profiling your matters, gives you a lot of background to craft a very thoughtful marketing description. Now, if you have a KM function at your firm and they haven't yet been introduced to the use of Foundation, I would absolutely recommend looping them in, as this could very much help them with their current practices as well. And again, let's not forget about pricing. This team hugely benefits from having this granular matter information available for searching and identifying the right set of matters to use as the basis of a predictable fee quote. And for those of you out there that might also have Clocktomizer, launching from the identified matters in Foundation over to Clocktomizer's fee comparison provides enormous lifts in your day. So let's not forget, introducing Foundation to other areas of the firm helps with the adoption of the tool. So I'm not going to spend too much time here, but I do want to make sure we're covering how you can get started with Foundation Dragon. If you're an existing Foundation customer, you can get ramped up quickly, as it is a matter of configuring your matter profile and going through a mapping exercise with Latera's professional services team to port over the information as appropriate. If you aren't yet a Foundation customer and you'd love to start your journey with bringing Dragon to light at your firm, we offer a quick start implementation, which is very focused on Dragon, which can get you up and running in just a couple of months, allowing you to build onto your Foundation use cases on your own timeline. So I'm just going to cover 2 quick requirements for you to understand if Quick Start's a fit for you. The first is you will need to be on the cloud version of Foundation to take advantage of the Quick Start. Now, Foundation Dragon can work with Cloud Foundation or on-prem Foundation. It's really just the Quick Start that you'll need to be running the cloud application. And simply that's because our services team will need direct access to your financial system, be it Aderant, 3E, or Elite, in order to make the connections up on your behalf. So if you are interested in learning more, we do have a series of Quick Start webinars we conducted earlier this year with some of our partners that gets much deeper into the details. You'll get to hear my voice again. And I believe we're going to be sending those in a link to you in the follow-up email for this webinar. Okay, without further ado, I do want to make sure that we take some moments to walk you through these solutions in action. So I'm going to pass it over to Haley for a demo of Foundation Dragon.
All right, thank you, Ashley. Well, we're excited to show you our Dragon. So we're going to do real top level. We'd love to do a further deep dive demo as people are interested. But with Dragon, as we mentioned, you have 2 different components. You can add deals and run the extraction process and explore insights that you at the aggregate level for that different transaction type. So from a quick top level, we collect 300 data points for the stock purchase for the M&A deal type. And so it takes a couple minutes to run the extraction. So for the purposes of time, we'll just kind of dive in. But Dragon is giving you the ability to track all of the different data points while pulling in some of those key top level pieces of information from Foundation. We're giving you the ability to see all the information in context. You can quickly move through the information, but I can verify the different deal points that are in the document. We're giving you that context, that ability to understand the information as it's there. We're also giving you our interpretation of the different provisions. So you know what we are thinking about when we talk about constructive knowledge or different bring downs. You understand the standards with which the information is collected. So we're giving you that ability to go through the information, understand how it sits in context with the agreement, and then we're able to give you that insights that we've mentioned. So if I want to understand, all the different deals, the different types we've done, so maybe I want to look at the different types of consideration. I've got a deal that's come to my attention that I'm going to work on that has a debt-like instrument. I want to be able to dive in and see how that having a debt-like instrument as consideration impacts all of the other market information in here. I can further slice and dice this information by the size of the deal that's in there. I can look at the information based on when the deal has signed. So we're able to put in these different relevancy categories. And then if I want to dive in and understand the different deals and how they look at against each other, so I can find precedent, I'm able to create these different comparisons that allow me to look at this data across different deals of different sizes so that I can find what's most relevant for me. And all this information that you're seeing on the screen is pulled from Edgar deals that have been posted by the SEC. So we are giving you the ability to look at information both at that top level as well as really drilling in on different deals themselves and how the terms sit in them. So we can go through a much more detailed demo of it, but again, we're giving you the ability to automatically extract the information at a really detailed, granular level, verify it, and then leverage it at this top level. And then one of the last things, after you've completed your verification process, you can connect the information back to Foundation so you have a complete profile of your matter that pairs with all that experience data. And I'll hand it back over to Ashley to show you how that works in practice.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, Haley. So here we are at the home page of Foundation. In the interest of time, we're just going to get right into a matter profile, an M&A matter, so we can sort of show how everything Haley just illustrated gets brought to life. So I'm just going to grab a matter that I recently looked at. And if you remember in the slides that I talked about before, the first thing with Foundation is you're going to identify what are those firm sources of data that I can integrate into the application to bring to life that foundational data that makes up my clients and my matters and my people. And so from the matter profile, we're immediately seeing that information. We have the name of the matter, the client we're doing the work for, that crucial client matter number that never seems to be around when we need it. But then we're immediately able to benefit from the supplemental details that other teams have created and pushed into this matter to expand out the story of what's going on. So you'll see here that our marketing team has crafted that thoughtful external facing narrative to use in pitches and proposals. The pricing team has been able to write up something that they can leverage in future for fee quotes. And then we're back to that integrated story coming from new matter intake, coming from time and billing. So we can see all the attributes like the last time somebody made a time entry, when it was opened, any of the hours and the billings involved, key folks that are part of this matter story. And then with Foundation Dragon, we can come down to the profile type area of this matter, which is where I've gone ahead and I've configured the data points that are going to be extracted out of Dragon and then pushed into Foundation. Again, we're dealing with top level information. You'll determine what that sweet spot is. But now that I have this source of free data that expands this out, I can use all these data points to search and report and pull back and see a representative set of matters to include in a pitch or to use as that baseline for my pricing. So just to give us an example of what that might look like, I'm going to just run a recent search that I had done. And I'm going to modify what this criteria looks like. So here is our search builder interface. So again, I've been able to benefit from that data coming from my time and billing system. I can understand the total billings. I've been able to identify I'm looking for M&A matters. And then I can get very granular into my results by leveraging those deal points that have been brought to me from Dragon. And then on top of all this, let's pretend I'm looking to quickly put together a pitch. I've used all these attributes and I've said, oh, and by the way, I'm also looking for this type of work where we already have an external facing marketing description. And so I can make my search, I can result a good set of representative matters, and then I can take whatever next action it is. So I can select this information, I can export this out into PowerPoint, Excel, or Word, or I can just add it to my pitch from here and be on my way. So with that, thank you everyone for joining us today. As Maid mentioned, you will be receiving a follow-up email with information on how you can learn more. Optionally, you can use this QR code that will take you to our website. As mentioned, any of the questions that were asked here today, will be following up for you. So we appreciate your time and we look forward to hopefully being able to show you more of this on the other side.
Thank you.